everybody to another episode of the Ideas Exchange presented by InXpress podcast. I'm your host, Paul Castleberry. This is the podcast where we're talking all things business. We're talking entrepreneurship, marketing, tech, being a franchisee, a franchisor, whatever falls in between all those kind of categories. We talk about that here on this podcast. And my guest today, very excited to have her on. Cristina, welcome to the show.
Hey, Paul, how are you?
I am doing so good now that I am talking to you.
Oh, you're sweet.
Tell everyone a little bit about yourself, give us your background, and yeah, we'll dive into this topic for today.
Absolutely. I'm Cristina Montero. My husband is Anthony Escobedo. Jointly, we run InXpress 277. We have a fantastic team behind us. Our home base area is Southwest Florida, but we've acquired several units at this point, and we're across the United States, and we love logistics. We're logistics nerds, so I'm super excited to be here and talking to you about account management, customer service side of things, which is what I tend to do.
Yeah, and she's being modest. They absolutely crush it. You absolutely crush it when it comes to business and what you do. And you touched on it already. Customer service. That's what we want to talk about. Account managing, being an account executive. And this is something I think a lot of people just kind of, maybe we gloss over this because when we think customer service, we're like, we think of that retail job position where you get yelled at all day. But let's start there. What do you think of? What's your definition when it comes to customer service?
So in our franchise, we call it account management. And it's not to disparage the term customer service. It's actually, I consider it a conglomeration of customer service and sales. So my idea of sales is logical persuasion. You're logically persuading your prospects to do logistics with you. And then the account management side is the customer service, the emotional tie, the emotional engagement that you want from your clients to make them loyal and make them consistent buyers from you. And I think that loyalty stems from not only the sales relationship being good, but also more so from our team who are those stewards of engagement with our clients.
I know I've had some awesome interaction with your team whenever we get together every year for our conventions and things like that. I definitely see it and feel it, that they are engaged and that there's just this different air about them because of what you're talking about. So when other people are looking at this account management or customer service, how do we break that mentality and train our teams to look at it differently and not as a chore? I mean, would you agree that that's maybe how we look at it?
Yeah. So it's funny. I think of logistics almost like in an economy of parity, right? Technically there are a million 3PLs out there. Mm-hmm. But what is the differentiator? And I think customer service account management can be that differentiator for our industry. If everybody can ship a package from point A to point B, what makes you different, right? Yeah. And when you're talking about economic parity in the sense of products and services being equal across the board, I think of like Elf. You've seen the movie Elf.
Yeah.
And he walks into the world's greatest cup of coffee shop, right? And we're all the world's best. But at some point, we can't all be the best. Yeah. So what makes you different is that human connection. You and I have talked about in the past how I think technology is changing this industry. Mm-hmm. But I am a staunch believer in the fact that as much as you want to integrate technology to maybe get rid of those mundane tasks or those chores, like you just called them, mm-hmm. of customer service, you also still want to integrate back in the human connection, that authentic, genuine feeling that people get from interacting with your team. I actually just heard one of our sales guys pitching the other morning on the phone, and I was so pleased to hear how he was pitching our team. He wasn't saying, "Oh yeah, you're going to do an LTL. That's great. Our account management team is fantastic." Instead, he said, "Oh, you're going to work with Yami. Yami is the LTL queen. If she doesn't get you a deal, I don't know who does." So even in the handoff between our sales team and our account management team, it's already personalized. They're not just getting pushed off from a sales guy to an account manager. It's oh, she's the expert in LTL, and that's who's going to take care of my business from here on out. So it's automatically from that first instance where you're interacting with Yami now as a client, you already have that feeling that she's going to take care of you.
That's so cool. And that's one of the things that we always preach within our network is you're not just a number. You're not just dialing that 1-800 number and go through the phone tree, right? We offer that personalized service. But also I feel like this could be maybe a bit of a pitfall. I want to kind of take it from that angle where maybe we get, how do I say it, maybe too personal, where it's like you're making too much of a personal connection and you're too in the weeds in that side of it, and
Okay.
you're losing sight of. Is that fair to say? Like, what are your
Yeah.
thoughts there?
So I guess I call that TMI, right? Too much information. So
Yeah.
there is a fine line when you're working account management of how close you get with a client and yet stay professional.
Yeah.
So TMI is one of those instances where do you tell the client all the drama that happened to get from point A to point B, or you just kind of guide them along the process in a professional manner that they think it's seamless, and you're the furiously paddling duckling on the surface of the water with your paddles going crazy. And I think you're right. I think you don't want to get into the weeds with clients. I think there's a professionalism to it, certainly. But I always say be communicative, be transparent, but leave out the drama. I actually had one of those kind of shipments just the other day. I had a dedicated truck that was coming here to Colorado. We had just had an Arctic blast. The truck that morning wouldn't start, so he was nervous about getting it delivered. But I said, it's 7 a.m. Why am I going to worry my customer if we have till 3 to deliver it? Let's get your truck started. Let's get back on the road. And then if we get closer to that time frame of 3 o'clock and it's looking like I'm not going to make it, then I'll communicate to the client. But why worry them unnecessarily? So I think there is a finesse to how much information and how personal you get with a client. But humor and those kind of mechanisms do work.
Yeah. It's you kill them with kindness, and you don't give away the farm and let them know all the secret sauce behind making the sausage, right?
Absolutely.
What other kind of phrases can I throw in there? Yeah, no. So what would be your advice to, business owners or account managers when they're going into this and they're trying to build that personal touch? We say we don't want to get too far into it, but you also don't want to be rigid and stiff. What would you tell somebody that's new to this and first getting out there?
I think some of the things I'm seeing now are a lot of you actually kind of touched on it at the beginning, right? The scripted people, the people where you get a million emails in your inbox every day, and they all kind of start sounding the same. You scroll through Netflix, and all the movies sound like they're all bank heists. Like we just kind of they're all noises, right?
Yeah.
And so I think a little bit of personality can go a long way. Even in an email, if you are communicating by email, you can spice it up a little bit without getting out of bounds. Anthony uses humor a lot. I don't find myself to be that funny, but I will be witty or quirky and call myself a logistics nerd. I had a client who asked me the other day, well, Cristina, if I pack this ocean container, is it going to get repacked? And instead of just writing him back a dull email, no, it's not going to get repacked. I sent him a picture, actually an email with 3 pictures, and says, this is exactly what's going to happen to your ocean container from here till it gets to Italy. And he wrote back, and I told him my subject line was logistics nerdiness. And he wrote back and he's like, I'm an engineering nerd. That is so cool. I can't believe that that's what happens to my container from here on out. And it's just, he said, now I understand the process. I can visualize it.
Yeah.
And now I appreciate you more for it instead of just writing me a dull email. Actually, that just happened with Derek and Seth, right? We had to bail Derek out of a big sale. So he asked the whole franchise network to help me out, guys. I can't sell this on my own. I'm just kidding, Derek.
Yeah.
But Seth wrote back something that was like visually impactful. He wrote, InXpress is great at shipping.
And it was written in crayon, right?
Yeah, in red crayon. And so it made us all chuckle. It made us all kind of feel. And I think that human connection of feeling is what's lacking in a lot of our email and phone communication, even sales guys, right? It's constantly the same phone call. But if you're talking to a pinball machine guy versus a bottling company. You just talk to them differently. You're going to speak to the decision maker differently than you would to the warehouse manager. And I think that's genuine. It's authentic.
Yeah.
To be that way.
How do you pull that off though? Because I think, if you're trying to be genuine and authentic, you can, well, for example, I heard a story the other day of a guy that went and did his research on a potential client, like found all this information, just these like anecdotal things that he threw out during the sales pitch. While I think that's good, I think you got to be careful that that authenticity can get lost. So how do we balance that?
Yeah, that's a great question. I think so. Maybe the difference would be between being helpful and insightful. Is if you're just being helpful and just offering all the information you possibly know, are you just rattling off services and solutions versus listening, actively listening to the customer and drawing insights from what they're talking about and responding to those insights. Ideas are a dime a dozen, but if you can take an insight and throw it back at them and say, am I understanding you correctly in saying that the reason you're having trouble shipping is ... then they know that you're genuinely listening to them. That's one of my 2023 goals this year is we've talked about being colorblind. We don't care what carrier we're going to use for the customer so long as it's in their best interest. And now I'm kind of focusing this year on bleeding my customers' colors. So I want to start being proponents of my customers. Do I wear their hoodies? Do I buy their jewelry? Do I promote them on my social media? I think that can be authentic too, where you're not only sharing as an entrepreneur, but as a business person, the shared struggles and the shared successes of business in today's world.
Yeah, absolutely. What are the other pitfalls when it comes to account management, customer service? What else should we be aware of?
So there's always bad news, right?
Yeah. Yep.
You're always going to run into
No, never. It's always sunshine and rainbows.
So you're going to run into a situation where you have to give the real deal, be the bearer of bad news, and those are difficult. Our account management team definitely finds contentious situations or confrontational situations difficult to navigate. But I guess my belief is that if you built that real relationship with a client, that at a certain point, it allows you to make mistakes. It gives you room or margin to have that cushion where you can go to them and say, hey, I messed up, hat in hand. I messed up, or this didn't go the way I wanted it to. And I'm the last person in the world who wants your shipment to go badly because it's just going to eat into me.
Yeah.
So I'm the most, advocate for them in this situation. Let me try and handle this and get this out of you. A way I talk to my girls about writing emails that are bearer of bad news emails are Oreos. So I'm like, Oreos are good things, right? So we're bundling bad things in a good thing. You put a cookie, you say a statement where, so this is the situation, and you just put a fact. And then in the middle, the good stuff, but highly caloric, you put the real bad news. And then in the bottom cookie, you say, but I'm going to salvage the situation with this solution. And so it makes it a little bit easier to accept the bad news if you're getting an Oreo cookie.
Yeah, that's true. I don't know of anyone. Maybe my wife's not a big Oreo fan, so maybe she wouldn't like the Oreos. But I love them.
Double stuffer. Like,
oh yeah.
Give me the bad processed white stuff that we have no idea what's in it.
Absolutely. So bad news though. So let's kind of go into that a little bit more. I love what you said about, the Oreo and delivering it kind of like in a packaged, nice, easy, digestible way. What are some other things would you suggest when an account manager has run across a bad situation, a bad account, a bad shipment, whatever the case may be? What are some other pieces of advice you could throw their way?
I think accountability. I mean, so much out there now is pass the buck. And when the buck stops with you and you're willing to take that hit and say, you know what? Yeah, this didn't go well. Let's try it again. Or it's so funny. I have a client who tries to ship with me to Paraguay. She keeps trying to do it. It's very nice, but my rates just don't seem to work for this landlocked country in South America. And so every time I try and quote this for her shipment for her, I put Paraguay. Ay, ay, ay. And she just giggles, and it just softens the blow when your quote may not make it. But she finally just gave me a chance. She's like, you know what, Cristina, you've quoted this shipment so many times for me, and I've never given it to you. You're a little bit more than what I wanted to spend, but let me try it. Let me try it. And the service that she got throughout the whole process ended up helping her see the value. So I didn't lose money. I still made my profit, but she finally gave me the chance. So I think that also, that authenticity, that genuine care about, I'm probably not going to win this. I'm very forthright about it. Hey, my rates don't seem to beat the forwarder you're using, but I'll try it. Yeah. And she at least recognizes that I keep trying. It may be a shot in the dark, but finally she gave me a chance. And now I do all her Paraguayan shipments.
There you go. Won the day. Who would have thought?
Well, who knows?
She owes you a pack of Oreos. So let's talk about, if I'm an account manager, I've got 1,000 accounts out there. How do you get personal with all 1,000 of them? That seems like a lot. How do we do that?
So luckily we have a team of account managers. So we all kind of manage our own book of clients out of the active ones. But I think Anthony and I would probably tell you, obviously you do focus on the top 20, 25 as your most active customers. They deserve the most love and care, in the sense of you're constantly working with them. They're the bulk of your business. But that's not to say that you don't spread a little love on the bottom 20 sometimes. Yeah. Maybe you want them, if they have the potential to be in your top 25, why not spread that love? And I think you can do it. It was interesting. A lot of people send holiday cards. I send Thanksgiving cards, and I send them across the board to all 1,000 clients. And it's funny because it cuts through the noise. It's earlier than all the rest of the holiday cards, so they actually get it long before the inundated business cards that come. And so a lot of my smaller clients said, "Hey, Cristina, thanks so much for that Thanksgiving card." And they said, "It was such a nice message that you're thankful for my business. I'm sure I'm not that big of a business client for you, but I appreciate the note and I appreciate the sentiment." Yeah. So even little things like that you don't have to touch them daily, but even things like that during the year, you could do it. St. Patrick's Day is coming up. Send a little "we're lucky to have you" kind of message, and it's quick, easy, and doesn't cost much. You could even do it via email or constant contact, something like that.
You're making my marketing heart very happy hearing that. That's awesome. You've touched on there's so many good nuggets here. I really appreciate it. We're coming up to the end of our time together. So I just kind of want to leave it open-ended. Any other piece of advice or anything else you would kind of toss in there towards the end?
So I think this must be fresh in my head. Anthony and I just watched, I think you're a movie buff. Anthony's told me you're a movie buff. I just watched Goodnight Oppie, the documentary on Amazon about Opportunity, the Mars rover, right? And what I came away with, there was a part in the movie where the builders of this robot, or this Mars rover, talked about towards the end of the robot's life, her little robot arm started failing, and they said, "Oh, she has arthritis." And then her wheel broke, and they said, "Oh, that's the arthritis again affecting her." And her memory card started not functioning. And they started attributing all these human characteristics to a robot. So you think, as much as technology helps us, as much as ChatGPT and all those AI things sound so cool, and we want to start integrating technology and be on the forefront of that, at the same time, we see humanity through human characteristics. So even in the sense where you're working with a Mars robot 1,000,000 miles away, they wanted to attribute human qualities because that's what we understand each other through, is our shared humanity. So I think at a certain point, whether you're quirky, weird, an engineering nerd, a logistics nerd, wherever you are, I think if you can bring that natural personality of yours to the table, clients will be attracted to working with you.
Well said. Well said. Great way to wrap that up. I always love ending these with a random question. And we had Anthony on a previous episode. I'm pretty sure I asked him this exact same question. So I got to ask you, being from Southwest Florida, best beach in Florida, what's your favorite? What's the top go-to?
So he proposed to me on Vanderbilt Beach. And it is one of my favorites because of the memories, but it's actually nice too because it's right next to the Ritz-Carlton.
Ooh.
They have really good drinks.
That's what cements it then, huh?
So that seals the deal. You know,
there you go.
If you're going to get proposed to, you want to have access to liquor right afterwards.
That's true. Well, there it is. Cristina, thank you so much for your time and your information. It's been a wealth of knowledge. I can't thank you enough, and just keep crushing it out there.
Thank you. And if anybody listening wants a little help or any info on how I do it, we'd love to have people come and ask us questions.
Send her a tweet. She'll answer you right away. So, Cristina, thank you so much. We'll talk to you later.
Paul. Talk soon.
Take care. Thank you so much for listening to the Ideas Exchange podcast presented by InXpress. If you enjoyed this episode and you want to show us some love and support, please share it out with others on social media or leave us a rating and review. If you want to know more about what InXpress is, visit inxpress.com to find out what they do and how they can help you and your business. That's InXpress.com. Thank you so much, and we will catch you in the next episode.